I'd like to begin the presentation by giving you a little tour of the device that I built. Starting at the top, there's two switches, mode switch and display switch. This mode switch is either set to the summer position or the winter position. The summer position is within the scope of this class. I'll be working on the winter functionality later. But when the summer is switched on, that means the typical cooling cycle would be that the window would open, and then a small fan would come on, and a large fan would come on, and then the window would shut, and the small and large fan would go out, and the air conditioning would go on. The display controls the LCD that I have here, the liquid crystal diode display, and there's two different settings, the system status and the temperatures. In system status, it monitors what the status is of each element of cooling. So, for example, is the window open or closed? Is the small ceiling fan on or off? Is the large fan on or off? Is the air conditioning on or off? So I'll be showing you that a little bit later. And then on the other position, in the temperature position, it will show what the current temperatures are inside and outside the house and also in the attic. And then the temperatures that I set, high and low, for the system to maintain. And that's by pressing these buttons, you'll see later that we can change what we want for the high and the low temp range. And then I have the middle button is for the ideal temperature, but that's not really part of this project. So we'll ignore that for now. On this side we have on and off switch, a reset button, and there's two power supplies. One for the servo, which opens and closes the window, and the other one is used to power the circuit and also the LCD display. I'd like to continue the presentation by giving you a quick tour of what's inside the device. At the heart of this device is the ATmega 3328P microprocessor, and this is the identical microprocessor that you'll find in an Arduino Uno. This particular microprocessor is referred to a dual inline package because it has 14 pins on each side. These pins fit inside a dip socket, and this dip socket is what's actually soldered to the PCB. And this allows me to remove the ATmega 328 for programming and to put it back easily. I have a little LED here that I use for the blink testing when I first put this together. You'll see there's a number of LEDs. These LEDs are very nice 5mm diffused color LEDs, and they monitor the system status. So when the window is open, this first LED will be lit. If the small fan is running, this will be on. If the large fan is running, this one will be on. This is for the air conditioning unit, and this is for the hearth and the heater, which are part of the winter mode, which we won't be talking about today. And as I mentioned earlier, we have two power supplies, one for the servo, and the red LED will come on here when the servo power is on, and then one for the rest of the circuit and the display, and when that power supply is on, this LED will be lit. Finally, I installed two 8-screw bus bars to the box. There's one here and the second one here. So all of the wiring from the circuit, and there's a lot of wiring, is hooked to the bottom screws of the bus bars. And then any wiring that comes into the box comes between the box and the bus bar, and those are the top. Those go to the top screws here. So there's a nice secure isolation between the two wiring, and that way the circuit wires are not going to get pulled by accident. Okay, I'd now like to power up the unit and let you see what it looks like when it's powered up. Take just a second to warm up. Okay, now the switch here is in the temperature mode. So in this mode, you can see here we have the house, attic, and exterior temperatures, and these are real-time temperatures that are coming off of the temperature sensors. So, and then on the right-hand side is where you set, where I can set the temperature. For example, if I want the low temperature, maybe I want it to be down to 68 degrees. I want the upper temperature to be something like maybe 78 degrees. So I use the push buttons here on the right, and as you can see, the temperature values are changing, and I set this to whatever I want. And so the system, once it's operating, is going to maintain the temperature of the house in between the high and the low values. If I switch to the other mode, this is where the system status is being monitored. You can see here that the window is currently closed, small fan is off, big fan is off, the AC is off, the hearth is off, and the heater is off. So at any point in time, if you come to this screen, you can see which elements of the cooling system are on or off. Okay, I'd like to demonstrate now how the device cools a house. And this is a little proof of concept house that I bought from IKEA and constructed. And my wife was kind enough to furnish it for me. So we'll focus right now on the device. And the first thing that I need to do is to set the high and low temperature that we want the cooling system to maintain. So I'm going to use the switch here, switch this over to temperature mode. You can see that the house and attic temperatures right now are 75 degrees, and the external temperature is at 74. All of these, the set temperatures are currently at 90, which is the default value. So I'm going to bring down the low temperature down to 68 degrees, and I'm going to have the ideal temperature set around 70, and then we're going to have to begin with, we'll have the high temperature right at 75, which is the current house temperature. Okay, so we'll see if we can get these temps down. Okay, the low temperature is set. The ideal temperature is set, which by the way is not used actually in this currently. And so now we have the house temperature and the set high temperature at 75. So the idea is once the system kicks off, it's going to maintain the temperature between 68 and 75. So as soon as I lower this by one more degree, then the system will kick on because the house temperature will be higher than the highest set temperature. What I need to do though, in order to show you a complete cooling cycle, is that we need to fool the microprocessor into thinking that the temperature outside the house is lower by at least 2 degrees as compared to the inside of the house. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of ice, apply it to the temperature sensor, so I can drop the external temperature down at least 2 degrees lower than the house. And I'm going to go ahead and just drop it clear down to about 60 degrees. Once it gets there, then I'll set the temperature one more degree and then down, and then that will actually kick the system off and get things running. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now and lower the temperature by 1 degree. As soon as I do that, you can see the window opens up. That window will stay open for 15 seconds. And then if the temperature doesn't get down to the low point of 68 by then what happens is the whole house fan, or the ceiling fan, will go on. You can see the ceiling fan has just gone on. And after 15 seconds, if the low temperature of 68 hasn't been achieved, then you're going to see the ceiling fan go on. Okay, you can see the ceiling fan has come on. Now we're going to focus down at the device. I'm going to turn it to, and you can see the window is open, the small fan is on, the big fan is on. Now what's happened is now the window's closed, small fan is off, big fan is off, and the air conditioning system is on. And so you can see now that the AC is running. So we've completed a cycle now, except for the fact that the air conditioner is running, and it will continue to run until the temperature inside the house gets down to 68 degrees. Well, you and I know that that's not going to happen because this is not a closed system and the space isn't being conditioned. So what I'm going to do to finish the cycle is take a piece of ice and apply it to the temperature sensor inside the house to drop the temperature and to fool the microprocessor into thinking that the house is being conditioned. And when the temperature gets down to 68 degrees, then the air conditioning system will shut off. There we go. Okay, so it just shut off. So everything is off, and this system will start up again when the house temperature gets above the high temperatures that was set. Now there's one more cycle I'd like to show, and that's the case where the outside temperature is not at least 2 degrees lower than the inside temperature, in which case the window should not open and the large fan, the whole house fan, should not come on. Okay, so we'll do that one next. So I'm going to lower the temperature by 1 degree here to kick things off. Now you can see the window did not open, but the small fan, the ceiling fan, came on. The big fan should not come on, but after 15 seconds the air conditioning unit should come on. Okay, you can see now the AC unit is running, and that's what we ought to see if we check the system status. So the AC is on, the window is closed, small fan off, big fan off. Okay, that completes the presentation.